Welcome everyone back down to Ice Level. As always, I'm your host, James Blennau. This week, before we feast with friends and family, it's time to feast on some college hockey news with the weekend recap. And I'm sure you're thankful for this sport. So let's not waste time. The turkey's getting cold. Here's the Ice Level Lowdown. What's in the news this week? Well, let's start with upsets everywhere. Ranked teams go down this weekend, range from numbers 1 to 20. With teams like number 15 UMass Lowell, number 6 Cornell, and even number 2 Boston College finding themselves square in the loss column. Number 7 Colorado College also went down this weekend, but considering only a 4-spot difference between them and their opponent St. Cloud State, it didn't seem like much of an upset. Regardless, this week is massive for the pairwise later in the season, and let's see how some of these losses affect the postseason seeding. 2 series this weekend had aggregate scorelines that you wouldn't even begin to see in the Champions League knockouts as well. Let's start with the most notable one, is when number 5 Michigan took down Penn State at the Peg 6-5 on Friday. I think no one expected them to follow it with a 10-6 win on Saturday. That brings the series scoreline to 16-11 for the Wolverines, and it looks more like the 2 lacrosse teams just entered Big Ten play with that line. On top of that, Omaha decided to put the pain on Miami, Ohio this weekend, winning Friday 3-0 and 8-1 on Saturday. Yeesh, that's a way to end the skid after losing 7 of 8 in conference play. The Mavericks have no easy task coming up, though, as they take on St. Cloud State at Brooks Hockey Center, looking for a familiar momentum-based upset we've seen so many times this year.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Duh. Game of
the week! This week it may not be with as great teams as before, but boy was this a stunner from the heart of New England. Vermont headed into Amherst taking on number 20 UMass, and boy did we have a game on our hands. The Minutemen lived up to their nickname, taking the first goal within the first 10 as Nick Van Tessel put the boys in maroon and white up. Timofey Spitzerov would answer the call for the Catamounts though just 2.5 minutes later. Isaac Walther put another past Michael Robel just before the period ending, and these Cats were roaring up 2-1. A rather uneventful second period followed, and then, without any warning, in a seriously ballsy move, Greg Carville decided to pull Robel with just a few left to play. Lucky for the Catamounts though, they had Isaac Walther on their team, who iced it with 1.5 minutes to go, making it 3-1. It may have paid off not to pull Robel though, as with 30 seconds left, Lucas Mercury made it 3-2, but that would do it from Amherst with a thrilling finish and a massive 3-point swing in the Hockey East. Now, in the upset uproar, how could we not choose this series? The question, though, my friends, is which game? I mean, it has to be Saturday. In Magnus Arena, Saturday night, against number 1 Denver, unranked Arizona State wins 5-2. Yes, you heard that right. The Sun Devils swept Denver in an indescribable fashion. Let's take a look at the Pios' second loss of the year, though. Despite Sam Harris's power play goal just 10 seconds in for Denver, the Sun Devils held on and had a 3-1 second period with goals from Noah Beck, Cullen Potter, and Artem Schleine, making it 3-2 Devs by the end. The third, though, was the icing on the cake, as these Devils on the shoulder put up another 2 goals, one in the empty net, holding the Pios to 4 goals all weekend and scoring 4 on 24 shots against Matt Davis. It doesn't get much better than that. There may have been too much to talk about this weekend, but let's get into the cross-conference highlight hub. In Atlantic Hockey, America called Bentley butter because they're on a roll. No, I won't stop the Thanksgiving references. They're on a 4-game win streak following a sweep of Air Force and AIC before that, and have won 7 of their last 8. I'd say where they're at in the standings, but that would spoil our next part of the segment, so let's see where the Falcons are in the full AHA standings. Bentley at the top with 24 points in 10 games played, followed by Niagara with 22 and 11, and Sacred Heart in third with 21 and 10. Army follows them with 15 points in 11 games played, followed by their military rivals Air Force with 14 and 8. Canisius 13 points, Holy Cross 12, American International College with 10. Mercyhurst and RIT tied the second to last with 7, and Robert Morris with 5 stuck at the bottom of the conference. In the Big Ten, not a lot happened this week in terms of teams who played, but it was a sure sweep city, with the Michigan Barn Burners at Penn State and number 4 Minnesota winning 6-3 and 5-3 across 2 games at Notre Dame. The rich got richer, and the rest of the standings are starting to shape up as teams like Wisconsin and Michigan State are also looking to take those top spots in the conference. So let's see how the 7-team gauntlet looks through Week 9. Minnesota and their historic top spot with 17 points in the conference, followed by Michigan State with 12 points in second, Minnesota with 17 points in first. Michigan follows them not far behind with 11 points in 4 games, Wisconsin with 11 points in 8 games, Ohio State with 5 and 4, Notre Dame with 3 and 8, and Penn State with a solitary point in 6 conference games played. In the CCHA, number 17 Minnesota State managed to hold back a surging Michigan Tech team with 2 games in Mankato. The Mavs are now 5-1-2 in the conference and could take a massive lead with their next 2 series coming against Bowling Green and Lake State, all at home before the winter break. However, with a few key weekends left before we hit the approximate halfway mark, let's see where these teams stand in the CCHA. Minnesota State at the top with a 750 points percentage, tied with Lake State. Just behind them, Michigan Tech with .667, tied with their neighbors to the south, Bowling Green. Augustana comes in with a 5.56, followed by the surging Bemidji State with a 5.42. Surprisingly low St. Thomas with 3.75, Ferris State with a flat 300, and Northern Michigan rounding us out with 1.11. In ECAC hockey, I kind of have to mention number 18 Quinnipiac going into Liner Rink and upsetting number 8 Cornell. With Aaron Bollinger opening the scoring for the Bobcats, the lead never went to the Big Red, as after they tied it in the first, freshman and Bruins draft pick Chris Pelosi iced it for the Cats in the third as they took home their biggest win of the season, and looking more like Rand Pecknold's teams of old, avoiding a slip outside the top 20 for the first time since my hometown LIU's hockey program didn't exist. Anyway, this conference is looking stronger than it has in years, so let's check out where the top teams stand. Dartmouth is at the top with 13 points in 5 games played, followed by Colgate with 13 and 6. Quinnipiac in third with 10 and 6, followed by Clarkson with 9 and 4, tied with Union at the same record. Cornell follows them with 9 points in 6 games. Yale follows them with 8 points in 6 games. Brown follows Yale with 7 points in 6 games. Harvard follows them with 6 points in 5 games. Princeton with 5 and 6, as the Ivies seem to be struggling this year. RPI with 3 and 4, and St. Lawrence with a sole point in 4 conference games played. In my favorite conference to cover week in and week out, the Hockey East, it was quite eventful over the weekend. Upsets galore as number 3 BC lost to Northeastern, number 15 UMass Lowell found themselves victim to another UConn upset, and Vermont took down number 20 UMass. And we also had UMass beating Harvard on Friday before the Vermont loss 5-3, and number 5 Maine taking the first game of the Border Battle Series this season on Nesson, winning 3-1 at New Hampshire. There's always movement, so let's see where this week lands our friends in New England in the Hockey East standings. Maine tops the conference with 18 points and 9 played, followed by Providence with 17 and 9. UMass Lowell follows them in third with 15 and 7, as UConn and Vermont are tied for fourth with 13 and 10 and 13 and 9 respectively. BC and BU are tied for sixth with 11 and 6 each. Northeastern follows them in eighth with 9 and 8. Merrimack with 8 and 7. UMass with 6 and 7. And New Hampshire with 5 and 6 round out the conference. In the NCHC, we've already addressed the elephant in the room. Number 1 Denver's 2 losses to Arizona State. What we haven't been over, though, is Robert Morris's wild weekend, losing by 1 goal in regulation or overtime, twice at the Ralph against number 12 North Dakota. Number 11 St. Cloud State also split their series with number 7 Colorado College. Before a massive slate of out-of-conference games, let's see how the standings shape up through Week 9 in the NCHC. Western Michigan tops the group with 15 and 6 games played, followed by Arizona State and Colorado College tied with 10 and 6. Omaha follows them with 9 and 6. St. Cloud State not far behind with 9 and 4. Denver with 6 and 4. Minnesota Duluth with 6 and 6. North Dakota in a surprising point near the bottom of the conference with 6 and 4. And Miami, Ohio with a dreadful 1 point and 6 conference games played.
The Ice Level Podcast is sponsored by Best Damn Tape. Best Damn Tape's mission is to supply the most affordable and elite-level sports tape to athletes worldwide. You can go to bestdamntape.com and use code DanKShow40, that's DanKShow40, to get 40% off your order. Go to bestdamntape.com and order your clear tape, your black and white tape, scented stick wax, and more.
Moving on to some trivia, let's test your net knowledge. Denver went on a 12-game win streak to start this season, making it the longest so far by any team this year and cementing them for most of the year at number 1 in the polls. This pales in comparison to the longest streak in history, though. Which team, men's or women's, had the longest win streak in NCAA history? When was it? And how many games did it span? You have 15 seconds. Time's up. Did you get it? If you guessed the Minnesota Golden Gophers women's team, you'd be correct. The Gophers won 62 straight games, including national championships in 2012 and 2013, spanning from January 2012 to November 2013. The state of hockey was dominant in those years, adding Ferris State's men's national championship appearance in 2012 onto that as well. Before we wrap it up, let's check out, most importantly, this week's USCHO Poll. For the first time since March 25th, we have a new number 1. Michigan State comes in with 38 first-place votes at the number 1 spot, followed by Denver with 7, Minnesota with 3, and BC with 2 at 1 through 4. Maine rounds out the top 5, followed by Michigan, Western Michigan, Colorado College, St. Cloud State, and Providence, making up the top 10. Cornell, Ohio State, BU, North Dakota, and Dartmouth make up the top 15 in a surprising motley crew of teams. And UMass, Lowell, Minnesota State, Quinnipiac, Arizona State, and Clarkson round us out in this week's top 20. You know, it's getting colder outside, but the schedule is just warming up as we check out our Week 10 Forecheck Forecast. Non-conference play is back in action, and boy is it exciting. Number 15 Dartmouth plays a standalone game at number 4 Boston College on Friday night. Number 6 Michigan and number 7 Western Michigan play a massive in-state home-and-home over the weekend, coming at Lawson with the Lunatics on campus. Upsetters Bemidji State play a home-and-home series against number 14 North Dakota, with their first game coming at Sanford Center on Friday night. Late-season upset Kings Alaska coming to St. Paul, playing 2 games at Mariucci against number 3 Minnesota. In the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, number 18 Quinnipiac sees number 11 Cornell for the second week in a row, and for an ECAC hockey showdown in the Frozen Apple on Saturday night. The Friendship 4 kicks off in Belfast with Merrimack taking on number 13 BU and Harvard playing Notre Dame in the first round of games on Friday. And finally, the Adirondack Winter Invitational sees number 16 UMass Lowell take on St. Lawrence, and number 10 Providence play number 20 Clarkson in Lake Placid Friday night. Saturday night also features Providence taking on St. Lawrence as Lowell faces Clarkson, as the North Country ECAC hockey rivals face massive Hockey East competition. That was a mouthful, but I hope you all have a mouthful of dinner and a wonderful Thanksgiving, and thanks for coming down to Ice Level. Thanks also go to USCHO and the AP for some of the information used in this episode. As always, I've been James Blennau, and I'm not an expert, and neither are you. But we're going to grow this game together. I'll see you in the next episode.